Hi, it's lovely to be here. The weather is still hot, mid-September. Even this shirt seems to be a bit too much. I was thinking what to wear. It's not easy. If you go to a beach with a shirt and jacket, it would be weird. If you come to the class with a swimming suit, it would be even weirder. So this is the unusual nature of forms. Um, there is no universally beautiful form in itself. Everyone in this world has a different viewpoint. Everyone has other things to say, and everything that said deserves a form that suits itself. The form always gives a buried message, even if you make sure that it does not. It will provide that as a message. So, how to decide on the form? Of course, for the outfit, a mirror would help, but it also helps to bring the primary motivation for writing into the equation. What is my main issue? Why do I write? So on the one hand, the politically catastrophic political climate of Turkey, the country I am from, brings pressing issues in one's agenda, and it turns your direct perception of the world into a very tragic one. So I simply take the pen and try to imagine a better world, which is not this hell I happen to live now and then. On the other hand, I'm enthusiastic about digging deep inside me to understand myself, obviously, to make sense of my emotions, fear, joy, shame, satisfaction. To make sense of your complex self, you might also need a complex language. So, of course, it is not only me. When you look at the modern Turkish poetry, different traditions fit the motivations, the previous motivations for my writing. On one hand, again, the Turkish language has a very long history of political poetry based on the folk poets going back to 1,000 years. Furthermore, the modern Turkish poet is Nazım Hikmet. I'm sure that you have heard of him. A devoted communist and an avant-garde from the 1920s. So he combined lyricism with his political agenda around his adventurous and also tragic life. He was mainly a realist, except for some fascinating examples. Many tried to follow his path, copying him, and failed. On the other hand, it might also be possible to observe a distant echo of the Ottoman court poetry in the ears of the modern poets today. It's a tradition which has skillfully exaggerated emotions and expressed them in a highly stylistic way, where figures of speech are used extensively. So, how do I place myself? These two different traditions, which seem very appealing to me, are here on the table. So, this dilemma is the solution itself, as I base my poetry on bringing these two spheres together. To face who I am in a personal way and to face the world politically, I choose both. So what kind of form would suit this duality, if we go back to the forms? To achieve this goal of being simultaneously rational and subjective, I use clearly structured forms, and also I let my pen move freely. For example, one of my most frequent strategies I use, one of I use, is developing a theme by making variations of an element throughout the poem. I repeat an element which has a particular linguistic structure, and in each repetition I make a variation of it according to the flow. I fill that unit as if it's a cup with a different material each time, so that I jump from a metaphor to another metaphor in a very fast ride. This gives me a rigid structure connecting everything in the poem, while I also have the independence and the flexibility to play with the surreal. So this is one strategy for a specific problem. There are others for other themes and objectives. I may never stick to a specific technique, but I do design every poem of mine. Yes, not only I write, I also design my poem. It does not mean that I don't let myself write freely. On the contrary, because of this, I need to design so that I can balance the flow and keep everything together. So it was vital for me to give a form, or to have a tailor-made form for each poem. I usually have a main idea that this is my starting point, my question. This single-use only form should come out of that main idea. It should represent and it should reproduce this main idea. The form is the skin of what I say, and without its flesh, it would be very different. A good poem is where neither the form nor the content can exist without each other. They must coexist. They must complement each other. They must form a unique unity. Not because I want to be unique, but because uniqueness guarantees that I find the only and the perfect fit for my main idea. So this road from my starting point to this unique end product is, so to speak, paved with the stones of the form-content unity. And all of this happened in the language. This means I bend the language itself during this play of form and content. If you bend the language, if you force it to the limits of the grammar, you can create a space between the poetry and daily language. The reader can get into that space, that house of difference, and see the world from a different point of view. This house is a safe, tolerant, fascinating, intriguing, and provocative home. Different from everywhere, made of mirrors and its walls transparent, you face yourself and you face the world. I try to wander around the language. I don't rule over the language. No one can. It's like nature. You can only think that you rule over it. But you can respectively build your home, your space, with your own words. I know that I'm not a master of the language,